This is Perkz, and you're watching Thorin's YouTube channel. I would like you guys to appreciate his YouTube channel, even though he talks sometimes so much that not even I can handle it. But most of the time it's pretty funny and entertaining.
Right, this is going to be another episode of Reflections, and my guest for this one is going to be Perkz, obviously the mid laner of Vitality, most famously of G2, and maybe Cloud9 if people remember that period. So one thing I would say is I want to start because I went back and I checked when the last one of these we did was. It was actually even earlier than I thought. It was at the beginning of 2018, so we didn't even cover any like the epic stuff from season 8 and all that jazz. It's because in the meantime you've been on like a load of the shows, so I think we've covered some of the topics there. Because I was sure it was like during the time you were in like the super team or something. So as a result, we can actually like talk about some cool stuff from the old days and sort of like revisit it with new eyes, as it were. So one thing I wanted to talk about, Perkz, which I don't think I've ever heard you actually publicly talk about, which I thought was quite interesting. But when I did an interview with Amazing, obviously the guy who was the jungler of Origen and 100 Thieves and TSM, we all know back in the day, right? He told me there was some story where when G2 had qualified to come into LEC, EU LCS back then, and before you'd actually like joined, or when you were like in the process of joining, like maybe you'd like just played like the qualifier or something, he told me something like you were going to maybe join Origen, like when they first made Origen, like they updated, and obviously they ended up getting Power of Evil, if people remember, to replace Expect. He said it could have been you actually, and that even then, even though you hadn't played LEC yet, they were like scouting you, and like it almost happened. Is this accurate? Do you remember it this way?
Yeah, it is. It is quite accurate. It's actually a really throwback. That's like almost it's 8 years ago, kind of. But yeah, I was like really high on Challenger, and I was competing against Origen in like Challenger series tournaments and those kind of tournaments. And I got to be friends with like Zvenamiti over like some TeamSpeaks back then. TeamSpeak servers are like some high-low players like Nuke and Fabi, etc. And I was like quite high on the ladder as well, and I was doing quite well in general. And even Perkz was like kind of, how do you say, throwing an eye on me, like writing to me, talking to me and stuff like that. So it was quite, like, I could feel it already from like...
That's a pretty nice ego boost if like expecting like 2015 or whatever's messaging, like, hey, come play with me or whatever,
Yeah, exactly. At that time, it was quite nice.
Sure.
And I kind of thought I would just be joining Origen, honestly. Like I was pretty sure that when I finish my Challenger series, as long as I'm playing well and not inting, but I was playing quite well, that I would just be joining Origen the next year. And I wanted to do it really badly because I wanted to play with like all these players, and I thought Sven was like super, super insane, and I wanted to play with him really badly. And so there was a funny clause in my contract actually that like I didn't obviously know, but there was like if we qualified, because I signed for like until the end of the summer, right, 2015. But if we qualified for LCS, like EU LCS back then, my contract would just auto-renew for 1 year.
Right.
And then I was like, wow, okay, I didn't even know that, I wanted to really leave. So there was this whole like drama because I was trying to join Origen. Like I was trying to poach myself and let Origen poach me, while I was in G2.
The wildest thing about that is that means technically, even at the beginning of your career, it was like Carlos contract shenanigans, like right out the gate.
Yes, exactly. I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing like just earlier, like a few weeks ago. So yeah, basically, like I remember, like I was even like. I was talking to Perkz and Carlos both in the same time, and Carlos was like, "No, bro, I can't let you go. We're gonna make something great here. We're gonna build a future here. And he like obviously didn't want to just give me to Perkz, because of like ego, all that. Like he for sure like wasn't buying all of that back then. Yeah, I was like giga tilted. Like I was like super sad and emotional about it because Origen just made top 4 worlds, and like I couldn't enjoy them. And they're getting this like Power Evil guy that I already thought I was better than him, So I was just kind of like sad, and I remember I was like crying because I was like jailed, right? I mean, it ended like well for me, right? Afterwards, but still, yeah, it's true. I was gonna join them, yeah.
Right. One thing I want to ask about, because I actually think now is probably the most perfect time to ask the question, because now is when, like the premise with opinions, people sometimes use the analogy of the stock market. You buy and you sell, whether it's like you want to like sell high and buy low, obviously. Right. So this is the moment where in theory people can buy low, which is on Youngbuck, right? Because right now, Youngbuck, if people don't know, in the off season has actually got like a really good set of players now, and maybe he's going to have a chance to like contend for the LEC again. Whereas obviously all these years he was in Excel, just making the playoffs was the challenge for them. So the question I have for you is this: back in the day when he was your coach and you won all the championships, and then he went to Fnatic and he won some championships there and they had caps there, etc. The problem is that so many years ago now that like even at the time people used to say, no, it's just like Mithy was the real coach, or all that jazz people used to say back then, and you just won in Fnatic because you had all the best players, Reckless and caps and that. So I noticed Youngbuck's stock as a coach does seem to have dropped in the XL era, and people think maybe you just maybe star players win the game for you. So I want to get your take. This is obviously a long time ago now, but what was it like during the time Youngbuck? Now you've been a bit older and you've had a few different coaches. How would you explain what Youngbuck used to be like as a coach back in the G2 days?
Well, back then the league was like, the scene was in general like super new, I would still say, and if you remember, like the coaches were basically exchanging every split every year. There were like so many coaches. I think I would say from like 2019 onwards, maybe it started stabilizing a bit more, and you would see this like same people in the scene more or less. So back then when we joined, when we got to LCS, like Youngbuck was doing a lot of stuff for us in general. Like, so basically he was like kind of like, you can even say like our house mom, because he was.
I think he even admitted this. He said he was like the chef the first year.
Yeah, dude, he had to cook for us. Like he had to cook for us. I remember he would like go before game 6, like he would do draft for us, and then he would go and make chicken and rice.
Okay.
He would make chicken and rice, so when we finish game we can actually eat. That was so funny because his chicken was also like low-key raw sometimes in the beginning.
Okay.
He would also make like eggs for us in the morning, and he got really good. He got really good with time. Like I'll give him that. He started becoming really good at it. But yeah, it's just it was just different days because he had to do management job as well. Like we didn't have a manager. Like how crazy is that? Like think about it. We didn't have a manager, so he had to do like paperwork. He had to help us with like we had 2 Koreans. Like he had to help them accommodate. Like he had to do so many jobs that he was doing. Like he obviously was trying to coach as well, all that. But it's hard to. It's not like coaching now. It's like different now. You have like all these roles and analysts and whatnot. And I think he was doing a good job, but I remember at some point he was getting like obviously like a lot for him. Like he was getting really burnout. So in 2017 we got some extra stuff, and I mean looking at it, I think Joy was well, he kind of understood the players. Like he kind of understood his players, right? And I'm not gonna say he was like teaching us a lot of like macro or concepts, but it was also like he was never really a great player. Like let's say, I just say he wasn't like a super great individual player, right, in his competitive career. And then somehow we just won the first split, which is like still the biggest mystery to me. And then when Mithy joined, like basically it was just Mithy, doing like teaching us all sorts of concepts, how to play together. And I mean, he wasn't even teaching us per se. He was like, we were learning together, but he was just kind of putting it on the paper because it's not like he knew all of that. We were just, I remember learning from losing to Flash Falls at IEM. We would like learn from losing to SKT, we would just learn and we would just adapt more and more and develop this concepts as a team. But Mithy was definitely kind of like the brain behind the team, I would say. And he did a lot for us. And Joy was trying to take those concepts, and make sure we how is it called? We repeat them, right? We do them. And it was a lot about basics, which honestly I do think coaching is a lot about, teaching people basics, making sure you do the fundamentals over and over again and you do them right. So then when you're set with fundamentals, you can actually do the crazier stuff and things like that. So that's kind of like my take on that.
By the way, on the last thing you said there, I feel like that's something from talking and doing interviews all the years I've done. I feel that's something that young players really miss. The last thing you said there, right? A young player, I'll give you the analogy, right? Just to make it more extreme. Think of like a real sport like basketball or something, right? The dream, if you're the young player, because you're watching the highlights, is you want to do like the 360 dunk or some crazy move, right? But what they probably don't realize, Perkz, is the greatest players of all time, like you say, the reason they can do all that like extra shit is because what they really spent all their time practicing was the most basic fundamentals. In some basketball, it's things like footwork and like understanding the
like
defensive,
at the
basic
basket,
shit.
Just like shooting at the basket for hours.
Would you say it's the same in league? Because I've heard it like basically, like people might think, well, I can already do all that. That's basic, but like, there's a reason Koreans drill boring shit,
I would say it's similar. Maybe it's more team related because let's say
Right.
I would say I mean I don't know much about traditional sports, especially basketball, but like as an individual you can probably practice your footwork and shooting on the basket
Yes.
alone for hours and hours. But as a team, like in League of Legends, you have to practice your map movements as a team. You have to practice. Oh, you go clear vision here, or you go back to sideways. Okay, enemy turn. Okay, you come back now. Okay, you do this. You have like this set plays, like let's say 5 or 6 plays based on the things the enemy does, and you have to do this really, really well if you want to be a good team.
One thing I thought we'll do, by the way, in this interview is it won't be like the really old school ones where I really did just go like year by year. And we'll bunch topics that make sense together. So one thing I want to ask you about, because this is going to fit together, is I actually think your career has like a movie quality to it in terms of like, if someone was going to write, think about how Hollywood movies work. If people don't know, the classic movie with like a hero story, in Act 1, you have to fail. That's what always happens at the beginning of the movie, isn't it? Like a hero's young or he's nervous or the rival beats him, right? So what's crazy, dude, is when I think back now, I once did an article on this. I think I called it like Perkz' last laugh or something. It's actually mad when you think back now that in season 6, your first year, everyone was mocking you for like being a choker and saying you shit at the big international tour. Because your career since then has been the total opposite. You're actually now probably considered like the greatest clutch player ever. So what I want to ask you was, this is kind of like a movie. Like one thing I always wondered about in that sense is I've actually found this happens quite a lot in sports and esports. Like you might not know this, Perkz, because it's a CSGO related thing. But in CSGO, the player that has the most majors and who at one point had the most MVP awards is the Danish player Device, and he has the same story, by the way, dude. The first few years of his career, he was considered the biggest choker, and everyone said he'll never win. Like, because here's what people do when you choke: they always try to make it like it's like about you as a person, like, oh, it means you're like a coward or you don't believe in yourself. They have always this spin it. So what I want to ask you was, as I say, since then you've had an amazing record of being clutch and having all the success and doing great things internationally. So when you look back on season 6 now, how would you explain why were there problems back then? What was it like? Like, did you ever wonder, like, am I a choker?
I mean, I have my own like perspective on that, right? Because so in season 6 MSI, we were basically changing the team. Like we were changing our bot lane like during the tournament, which like I wanted to do. Like I didn't think we would have like, honestly, I didn't even think we would win summer again with the same roster, and I thought Sven and Mitty were just so valuable that we needed to get them, and that would give us like success in the future. And we did, but that's a whole different topic, right? And then that tournament was just doomed because the bottom found out they were getting replaced. We obviously didn't get much practice because of that as well. And yeah, like we were just also not good, right? So all of that like kind of made me like, I guess, lose a little bit of confidence international, because like, let's face it, I was like not really performing well at tournament, but no one else was as well, right? So for Worlds is a little bit different because I would just say I was really stubborn and I had a lot of ego regarding that year. Like I didn't think anyone in Europe was like really on my level, like which was like so crazy because I just joined, right? And I was trolling a lot in individual games, in official games and also in streams. But I was still doing a lot of damage, and I was still like doing good stuff. But I was also like actually trolling a lot, like actual trolling, And that was like really bad mindset by me. And then during Worlds, like I remember I was like really homesick because basically I was eating shit the whole year. Like I remember my first rewards when I joined were like, we had like a whole table of Kinder Buenos, like Joy bought them for me, and then when I would get solo kills and scrims, I would get a Kinder Bueno of like the one bar, for one solo kill. And at some point I would like eat like 2 boxes a day. It was like really, really bad for my health. And then anyways, like during the world, I remember we went to some photo shoot, and in the car I was actually I started crying. Like didn't know why. Like I started crying. I feel like I just missed my home. I missed my family. I missed like just being an ordinary kid that's not getting flamed by thousands of people on the internet. And that kind of really like put me like back mentally for that world, because I was like giga burned out or like homesick, like all that, because we were in Korea, and I was first time like in Korea, practicing boot camping, not eating shit, stressed out, obviously, also stubborn, all that things. Like I was really immature, and I didn't take my job very seriously, right? So that resulted in me having like super poor performances, because I also like obviously lost confidence in myself as well during the tournament. So then after that, I just chose, to like kind of like change a lot of my like my, I guess, like beliefs. It was like a kind of a turning point. Like I'm gonna practice more stable champions. I'm gonna practice more mages. I'm gonna practice more playing for the team. I don't know. I'm gonna eat better. I'm gonna exercise. All stuff like that. Like I was changing, and then obviously, to shorten the story, my season 7 MSI was really, really successful. I think I played super well this tournament. Even looking back at it now, like if I were to watch my games, I think like I was playing super well for that year. And yeah, I was just, I just kind of, it was a switch.
Right. One thing I would actually ask you about, like, I'll try to make this simple so you can just see what you vibe with. I don't won't load too much in, but basically, one of the things I've also noticed about why I said that pattern actually is more common than you'd think. It's actually the people who, in theory, were told they were like the loser and the choker, who, when they overcome it, become the greatest winner. And one thing I've always wondered about, is just speculation, is, to me, it's like if you've already lost a bunch of times, especially if it's really brutal, like you're saying, everyone's flaming you, you feel like shit yourself. Like, I could see that, like, when it ticks over and you win now and you win championships and you're getting, like, in theory, surely what it removes is, like, you're not really as afraid of failure, right? You're still going to fail. You're still going to fail.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I didn't think about it like that, but I mean, I didn't think about it, but I think you are right. Like, it definitely impact. Like, you're just way less scared of a failure because you've already experienced such a disgusting failure and like embarrassment and like death threats. And I don't know. I remember like I was like losing my hair because I was so stressed. I was like so done with life. I was like, what the fuck is going on? It's too much for me. And basically, when you experience that, like everything else after that is just like, it's just so much easier. Like I go to the national tournament. Okay, it can't be worse than last time. Like it's actually impossible to be worse than last time. So yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Because along these lines, obviously, what's the famous narrative that people will remember is you have this insane record just in all of your teams. It's not just the super team. All Perkz teams have insane records in game 4. So you basically just win all the game 4s.
I counted. I was like 20. I'm like 25-4 in game 4s.
Yes, so if people don't know, this even includes, when he adds Venom Mythy, that it includes even in Cloud9. Even in Cloud9, you barely lost them. I mean, the joke is, it's because even if you lost, you got 3-0 in Cloud9. But that still works. That's the retains. But what do you think about this? Because the reason why that's a cool record to me is because if someone knows the way a League of Legends series goes, game 4 really is the super pressure game.
Yeah.
Like that is the one where if you're down 1 and 2, you just lose and it's 1-3 and you're like, fuck. Like, so actually, like, that does imply, like, it doesn't have to be just you, but something about the teams you're in. Like, they do have a special quality to bounce back, right?
Yeah, I mean, I try to just loosen the mood, because if your teammates see you're stressed and they see that you are crumbling, they will crumble too, But if they see that you have the energy, that you have the belief, you have like the power to win the game, then they're gonna start believing too, and they're gonna start. Obviously, when you believe in something, you're gonna do it better. You're gonna believe in it. You're gonna be able to win. So obviously, I'm not saying I'm gonna win 100% of times in game 4s, or but like the record is quite. I'm quite proud of that record. I would say that's probably the thing I'm the most proud of, is that record in game 4s. So yeah, I think it's all about belief. Honestly, yeah, it's about faith in what you're gonna do now is gonna get you the win, and you're not gonna be stressed. You're not gonna crumble. You're not gonna show the enemies that you're scared as well. You're gonna laugh, you're gonna prepare for the next game, and you're gonna win it, right? So you have to believe in it really hard. And if you don't, obviously, like honestly, when I'm 0-2 down, like it's hard for me too. Like it's obviously hard. Like I'm. That's why I think it's really hard to win from 0-2 down. Like only once in my life have I reverse swept. And I don't know exactly, but I think when I was 0-2 down, and most people as well, when you're 0-2 down, usually you just lose 3-0. Like usually, like most of the time,
Yes.
you actually just lose 3-0 because that's like it's hard, because you try two things, it's not working, Like when you're 1-2 down, that shit is easy, Like game 3 is really hard to win, So yeah, that one I have to overcome yet, yeah.
Right. One thing that's interesting to me is if we look like early in your career, because you had like early on you had Trick and then you had Mithy as well, people would say back then your job was just being a really good mid laner, like you're just a player, right? But I notice one of the things I think your career has actually shown a lot of people in League of Legends esports is, back in the day, the terminology is people used to just conflate the idea of being a leader with being the shot caller. Like to them, the one who talks the most is the leader, right? But I actually think in your career, one thing it showed us is like there's the concept of the captain, like in football or any sport, like the sort of spiritual leader. It seems like in your teams after Trick and Myth, you kind of took that role. I mean, that's what a lot of people think was missing from G2 when he left.
Yeah, I would say there's definitely some truth to it. I think in my earlier days, I was really shying away from that. I didn't also consider like how much, let's say, me having titles or me having big brand would even affect the newcomers on the team or the players I would play with, and how they would perceive me as a person because of something I've already like kind of built. So I didn't really take that into account as well. I think with years, I'm starting to be more and more aware of what kind of picture people might have when they join the team that I'm playing on, or that we join the team together, right? So I would say with year and year, I'm just trying to mature and get better at that role where I can, be not too emotional, be more reasonable with myself and others, not get tilted at like, especially losing, or making mistakes, because that one is probably the hardest one, to not get tilted at making mistakes. I'm struggling with that right now as we speak as well, because it's like every team, like every year, I'm playing now my 8th year of career, and most of the teams is the same thing. You just have to learn all the concepts that I've learned in 2016 or 2017. You just have to learn them again. And how do you explain these new players or the players that like they can be like, oh, grandpa, you go home, you're old, but like I know that for a fact I can say I think the teams in 2017, 2018 have had better macro than these teams that in Europe were last year. Like honestly, I can say that confidently. When I watch Europe's games, I think Europe is as like the teams are too scattered. The teams are like changing too much. The game is evolving really fast, so we adapt. Like we have to keep adapting, but the macro is just like it's much worse than it was back then. Like honestly, like sure, the game is more complicated now and there is more things to do, but the concepts of macro are just not as good as back in the days,
By the way, this is just a small question. It's not like some major topic, but since in season 8, as I alluded to, like when we did the last interview, it was actually at the beginning of season 8, so I never asked about that. One thing I did want to ask about in season 8 that's just a weird side detail is, remember in the summer split, that like I would say it was for the first 2/3 of the summer split where it was that weird funnel meta, which is the only time ever in League of Legends that there was that weird and wide open meta that you could actually do that. And the joke is, it was more like something like Dota where you really could just like funnel all the gold in one guy. And obviously on your team, it was just you got to be like the god carry that just had all
that was so fun.
What was that like? That must have been a very weird time to play.
I at that time though, I was obviously also really narcissistic and really egoistic, I actually felt like I was the best player in the world, like I remember I went to check. I'm not a KDA player, so I'm really good at dying, but then I went and checked stats. I'm like, I have 70 KDA, I'm like, how do I have 70 KDA? Am I just that insane? Like, I'm like Inter, like I'm supposed to be the Inter. How the fuck do I have 70 KDA? So I was like so confused, and I was like, oh, I must be the best player in the world right now, and it was going super well for us, and I really obviously enjoyed being played around. I really enjoyed like well, it wasn't like even solo winning the games. It was just like I enjoyed, having 300 CS in 20 minutes. I enjoyed being like 10-0. It was just super fun. It was a super fun meta, and also all of my teammates were super supportive, and they agreed that was the best way to play right now. Like we can just play it like. And I'm really grateful for that, because they also put a lot of trust in me to take the resources, and I think I didn't fail them, as well. So that meta was like, it's like crazy that it existed actually, because it's just really funny. We actually used that same strategy the next year in Spring Split with the new G2, right? With the Super G2.
Yes.
So that's actually that's actually funny, because we never even practiced that. We never practiced that final when we played against Origen in finals. We just theory crafted it because Sonatarik was like disgusting to play against. So you're like, let's just dodge lane and just play final. Yeah, it can work. Yeah, let's try it, And then like I remember also that was like first game we played the final. Next game we played this. No, sorry. First game we played Sonatarik. Next game they get it. We play the final, and then I told my team, guys, let's just ban Sonatarik for next game, because they're gonna be thinking the next 50 minutes how do they come to the final.
Right.
And we went to the bar after the finals. I remember Nuke told me that we spent like the whole break in between games thinking what we're gonna do if you do the final.
Yes.
And then I was like, I felt so high-fed. I was like, wow, you guys got so outplayed. It's you guys had no chance. Like,
by the way, when you said there that you were the intern, I know you always describe it like you used to die too much early in your career because you were like ego player. But this is something I actually noticed. Like people might say I'm just being a fanboy, but I always say this on talk shows in the teams that haven't been as good. Like in Cloud9, where it was obviously a team with some issues synergy wise. I would even say in Vitality when some of the other players weren't playing as well. Right? Fans will always just be like, "Oh, Perkz just did it there," but it's like depending on where in the game it takes place, though. Perkz, I've noticed one thing you do, and I do think this is part of being a clutch player, is you will do the int in late in the game where it's like, look, I'll use the mean example that everyone knows I'm going to use. The old school Reckless would just back off and let keep his KDA and he'd sit on the fountain while the game ended because it's probably not going to win this last fight, right? But you're the guy I've noticed where it feels to me like you're willing to look really stupid and die in a really silly way. If that really is like the one play or the one angle you can sort of see to come back in the game, I've noticed you're willing to sort of take that risk every time, it feels like.
I think you're right in the sense where I'm not going to shy away from making the play that I think is good. Is my judgment and my play when I think is good always good? No, it's not. But it's also like I can also like other players crumble under pressure, or like under pressure, not even like the pressure of fans or the games. It's more like under the pressure of how do we win this game? Like I don't know how to win this game. My team is not saying anything, so I will try to make a plan and I will try to find us a way to win this game. This is how my brain will function, right? So when you see me do these ints, like. I try to communicate them with my team as well. I try to say, okay, I'm gonna do this. Let's like see if it works, right, and stuff like that. But I mean, I can also make like some really bad mistakes. Like I have good games, I have bad games. Honestly, like everybody else, the only one thing I would say is that, like, probably because of like how many titles I managed to gather, my mistakes are kind of magnified much more. I feel like at least like I don't. Like at least the last 2 years, I haven't been reading nearly as much social media and watching broadcasts as I have in the past. So I can't really say for sure.
Does that help?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, because no matter what you say, as a professional, like if you read other people's comments, they will affect you one way or another. Like you can't say, no, it doesn't affect me. No, you're a human being. It will affect you no matter what you say. I don't care what you say, And it's like in normal sports, I feel like the athletes are so much more distant, like from the media and from all that, and they just do it mostly for the PR, right? Because they have to. But since we are electronic sport and we play the games the whole time and we use Twitter and we use like League, and all that, like we will be so much more in touch with fans than anybody else ever. So no matter what you say, you have to find a way to distance yourself from it because it's gonna affect you. And I've had cases in my career where this thing, has been feeding my ego, has been crushing my confidence. I'm over that shit. I don't need it anymore. That's something you learn over the years as well, right? Nowadays, when I read Reddit, I read it just for the news, like, oh, what's the patch notes? Or is there a bug we can abuse or something like that, Like, I don't go to the comments and scroll down and read all the comments like I have in the past. But yeah, back to the point where that will make me look just like I'm hard hinting, because people think of, oh, oh, this is the guy that went 10-0 with a blank against RNG, you know? Why is he playing so bad? Like, I feel like that's how people will have the image, which is fine, because that means in a way, like, I have created such an legacy that, like, if I'm having a mediocre / like a little bit underperforming game, people will think I'm just the worst player in the world, because they're used to me having good games, right? So it's something just I learned to live it, but it's like also it's a bit triggering, you know. Let's say I have a game where I went 10-0 with Ari this summer split right now, and then people write or like, oh, Perkz is back, you know, like, oh, where was he this whole time? I'm like, I'm here the whole time. I'm playing well this whole year, man. Why are you hating on me? Like, I'm actually doing fine the whole year. Like, I'm really not bad. I'm not washed, guys, you know? Just because I have 10-0 doesn't mean I did anything better this game. Honestly, even that game I played, I was doing so many mistakes, like individual wise. So I don't know. It's just like you have to learn to like not read as much, distance yourself from all of that, and yeah.
One thing I also want to ask was, because another thing I've noticed in great esports teams, particularly the great ones, not just random teams, in the great teams, I also feel like some of the characteristics of the top players in the team sort of like, they almost like affect everyone in the squad, and the team plays to that style. So along these lines, one thing I want to ask was, both individually, and I notice a lot of your teams historically, your teams are the ones where you never just let yourself get chalked out and gradually lose the game. It's always like, right, if you start losing, early on, you'll find a moment like, right, let's turn it now. Or even if this is like a bad fight, let's just take it now and try and get ourselves back in the game. Would you agree? Is this a conscious mentality?
Yeah, I mean, that's true. That's maybe like my weakness. I think that's actually my weakness as well. Like, it can be strength and weakness, but like if the other players don't see it, or like not even don't see it, maybe if they're not committed to the same play as you are, it will be like really, really bad, you know? But like, let's say in G2 2019, like when we were behind, and like, I don't know if you remember, but the games we were behind, we would get really stomped. And yeah, some games we would come back because of that, what we do, right? But the games we were behind, we would get like so stomped, you know? Like it would be like just, and sometimes he was tilting me because I was like, guys, can't we just play slow? Like, don't you guys trust me? I can carry this game. Like, I'm AD carry, you know, like I can carry late game, stuff like that. Obviously, but I think there is pros and cons to that, and I wouldn't say that's like my strength. I would more say when that's my weakness, because when I'm behind, I maybe tend to do more desperate plays. Like some of my teammates have told me that in the past. But yeah, I think it kind of stems from the 2019 G2 where we used to do that a lot. Like as everyone else, I pick up on things. Like, you know, there's like this saying that you're like 20% of the people around you, you know, and like I just picked up on things that I learned from my teammates over the 2 years there. So I would say maybe that was like a more of a cups thing, but I think also he's changed quite a bit. I feel like it's much harder to defeat him now. You know, before when he would be set behind, he would be like really easily tiltable. But that's like I'm jumping topics now. So, no, but yeah, good. I gathered that from that G2 basically. Yeah.
Right, obviously, since in the last interview we didn't cover the Season 8 thing, we never got to talk about the awesome Worlds run, the one where you actually went to top 4 and you played against IG, and as you say, you beat RNG. Right, here's the question I have on this one, which is, when you went into this particular World, right, this was the one where, if people don't know, the summer split playoffs were actually a bit whack. Like, you guys had to go through the qualifier, if people forget. This is the one where you'd lost to, like, Misfits or whatever the fuck it was in the first round. Like, this wasn't actually, like, unlike the other Worlds, you came in the other Worlds as a champion, dude. Like, you're supposed to do really well. Like, this one, the one where you made your first deep run, actually, you came in, like, a bit shakier. So I wanted to know, going into that tournament, did you actually know this team could be good? Did you have any clue, like, it was possible to do the things you were going to do that tournament?
Yeah, because the meta changed. Basically, at that time, like there was the rework of Urgot, Aatrox, Aurelia, Akali. All these champs were like monster broken. Like, they were so OP. Wow, that meta was fun.
Yes.
But anyways, like, I thought me and Wunder were like by far the best top mid like duo in flexing those champions. Like, obviously, like I will say, Caps was really good, right? But they were playing with Soas, and Soas could not play those champions at the time. When I started playing Vipo, I think Vipo could play like Aatrox super well, but they like couldn't really play Akali, like flex Akali, flex Urgot, like flex the champions. Like, it wasn't so as smooth for Fnatic, where I think just in G2 we were just better at the meta. when they changed. Like that was like after the playoffs for Gauntlet, the champions came. And then for Worlds, it was that meta. It was like a blessing, blessing from God. Here you go. You have good meta for Worlds. Go do something good. So I didn't have too much hope, but then as we got planes games, that has helped us a lot and got us some confidence as a team. Made us play more synergetic and more confident. Versus RNG, honestly, like I remember this is a funny story. Because me and Wunder were playing some Galio Chameleon scrims. Like I really liked Wunder's Camille. I thought he was insane on the champ. Like I actually just like respected him a lot. And I remember like we got super smashed by RNG in game. It was game 3. Yeah, we were 1-2 down. We got super smashed. We went to toilets. We went to take a piss. And I'm like, what's up, Wunder? You want to play Galio Camille like him? And like, yeah, sure, bro, let's do it, But then they left like the something open, like Aurelia. They left Aurelia open, so we just take Aurelia, whatever. Like, what can go wrong? So then, sorry, Aatrox. Yeah, it was Aatrox that was open. So yeah, I mean, it was just a super good meta for us, and I think also the issues we've had with like how do I say. We had issues with some bottom picks that we couldn't play, like Xayah, Kai'Sa, but we found really good ways around it. Like we played Varus, we had Heimerdinger, we had Jhin, we had Sivir. Like even though we didn't play maybe what was meta by everyone else, we had actual good answers to it, and we would have bottom prior with those picks. So I would say we kind of like band-aid fix our problems super well for the Worlds, and the meta aligned perfectly. And also with a little bit of luck, like we made a deep run. I think against IG we'll probably never win because I think just Rookie and the Shy were just better than us. And that's like fine to say. Like they were just like
Omega,
yeah, they were just better players than us. They were the better team. Like we were not gonna gap them like the other players. So I think that was kind of it. Yeah. That was kind of it.
I did, I think it was like a Best Damn League show or something I did where I had Youngbuck as a guest. I'm trying to think what show it was. I think it was that. And basically, when we referenced something to do with this tournament, because obviously he was with Fnac at the time and they were on the other side of the bracket, right? Here's the funny thing, Perkz. Everyone now tells the story as like, because of the meta switch you're talking about, especially because it went to solo lanes, and RNG's whole style was like Uzi, obviously, like it was the team that Uzi was on, right? Everyone always just says, it's just because of that switch that Uzi and RNG lost. And then also they throw in that like Heimerdinger pick from fucking Hyan, and obviously the story. But I've actually heard from Youngbuck on the other side of the bracket, because obviously he was scrimming the teams on your side. He told me they were so fucking happy when RNG lost, because he actually thinks that if RNG won the series against you guys, maybe they would have won Worlds. That's what he says.
I mean, I don't know, man. Like honestly, looking at this past years, like top 7 was so OP back then. Like I actually don't think RNG would have won Worlds. Like I don't think so. Still to this day, I think like I don't know, the Shy was so good. Like you don't get it. Like Shy was so good. Like I mean, Rookie was good too. I'm not claiming just Wunder here, but I think the Shy was like so good. So it was like he was just gonna gap them. Yeah, no.
By the way, this is an appropriate moment to ask this, right? When Wunder does like his style, I don't even think, here's the thing, guys, I don't even think it's trash talk. I think that is just his sense of humor from talking to him in other scenarios. So my question is this, right? He is amazing at trash talk because he does that thing that certain like combat sports people can do, where he just makes you believe that he believes it, if you know what I mean. You actually really do think that he thinks that like you were going to smash FPX, or like in this series, like, you're going to wreck the Shire. Does he actually believe it though, do you think? Does he actually think when he's on his game, he is the best?
No. I mean, I think he's a very reasonable person. I think, I think he just has really good sense of humor and really good branding. Like he doesn't.
He sells it really well. He sells the troll side really well.
Yeah, he does. He's really intelligent. So people can like really hate him for it or really love him for it. So I think that's really. I love him for that. Like I like his humor a lot. So yeah, but it's really crazy when it backfires. Like that this is gonna be the fastest international final you'll ever see. And then it actually was the fastest international final you will ever see. That aged really well, right? So
I know.
Yeah.
Right, I think on like a Listen Local or Crackdown, I talked about this story before, but we'll put it on the reflections. I'll make a shorter version. So basically, I've told this story where I actually did this with a few other players. And what's mad now is I've got an update. In CSGO, it works, mate, when I do this, but it's just League of Legends, it's death if I do this. Like, I've stopped doing it completely now. But I told this story that back in the day, I used to try and myself be like the coach that comes in and gives like the epic speech to people, like right before the match, like the night before. Because what I thought was this, Perkz, when naively or not, I thought if it's like Worlds or something, remember they do come around like once a year and you don't even always qualify. Like those are big moments if you're in a big playoff series, you have a chance to go deep. What I thought was maybe the player's nervous, maybe they're like sitting up at night thinking like, oh fuck, what's the game going to be? So I thought if you could say the right words to them, maybe that would sort of like I say, like a speech, like maybe it would like crystallize the right idea in their mind. Or so I tried with you. I told you after, because that fucking game you said the LeBlanc game was so epic against RNG. I bought into the hype. I was the wrestling mark who thought Hulk Hogan was real or whatever. I told you, and I sent this message to you that was like, it was fucking massive as well. It was just like a little Bible of like, believe in yourself. Like, just because they're Korean doesn't mean they're better. Oh, it's hilarious now because I was totally a mark. And I won't say like I thought you'd definitely win, but I thought like, I believed it was possible. Like at the time, the logic was like.
I believed it too.
That's what I want to ask. Like, did you actually? Because everyone now it's easy to say, "Well, IG was better," but like, did you really think? I mean, look, if you beat RNG, you should think it's possible, right?
No, I did think it was possible. Like, I for sure thought it was possible. Like I going into IG series, I thought we were gonna beat IG, and okay, I'm saying this, they were better, like a lot better, but I actually don't think they were. How do I say? I like to over exaggerate a little bit, you know. I think they smashed us with Jace both games, like game 1 and game 2. They smashed us with Jace, and I think we got, we were 0-2 down. We got fisted by Jace. Like maybe if there wasn't Jace and we played against the meta champs that we played, the meta matches that we played the whole time, I don't think we would get that smashed, and we would have a much closer series. I'm not saying we would win for sure, but I'm saying we'll have a much closer series. But when you're 0-2 down, only because one pick smashes you both games, then you just can't win, like it's impossible. Game 3, for all the people that watched, we were actually winning. We dived the Shy, we killed Ning in jungle, like we had early game lead, like we were winning, but we just forgot how to win because we got smashed 2 games in a row by them. So yes, before the semis, I did think we had a really good chance of winning. Like I had a really high confidence at the time. I thought Wunder was really good. I thought we found a way how we can play as a team to win, and I think IG was a really similar team to us. Like they wouldn't really play towards their bot lane, and they would mostly play topside, and it was same for us, right? So I just thought, okay, if we have a better day than them, maybe we have better drafts, we win. But honestly, we got cheesed, we got outplayed. They were better than us. The Shy kind of smurfed Giga hard game 2. So like when the Shy is making fun of you so hard in game 2, like that's probably like a sign you just lose, because like sure. You're not coming back when somebody's making fun of you like that, you're just sure. Not. Like that's just it. So yeah, I think after game 2 I kind of thought, fuck, it's lost, but before that, no, I didn't think it was lost. No.
Right. Obviously, the off season of this year, I want to talk about and then get into the super team. So I want to set it up like this. I'll pretend I'm like the lawyer here. Listen, guys, understand, we're about to have like a casual conversation. And when we do so, we might say things like, yeah, exactly. We might say things like, so you talk to Caps, but obviously what we mean is you went to G2 and said, let's get Caps. And then they, through all legal means, contacted Fnatic and said, could we please request, no, you know what I mean? Like, anyway,
actually, Caps is
that one, he was a free agent. But yeah, the point is,
Caps was actually a free agent. Yeah.
So the point is though, whenever we have these conversations in this episode, guys, that's what we really mean. We're just going to say it like he just talked to this player though. That's a half a joke, half true. Right. So the question on this one is though, I've heard something hilarious, dude. I think it was Carlos who told me this. This is actually really funny because people don't know this story. Is that when it was obviously initially Fnatic didn't actually know that like, oh, they're trying to like steal both mid laners. They're going to have you swap to ADC and he's going to be mid. So I heard that when they heard, oh, G2's talking to Caps as well, they were like, oh, in that case, we request to talk to Perkz. And they really thought they had a chance to get you, but they didn't know the whole time. It's like you guys were just laughing, like thinking like, you were never going there, right?
No, it's true. No, I would never ever go there. I mean, actually, we wanted to get upset first.
Okay.
Like, we actually wanted to get upset first. But like, Schalke was basically whatever jailing him. Like, they were asking some crazy amount. Like, I don't know, it was like 700k or something like that. At that time, okay, now it's still a lot of money, right? But at that time, that was like, wow. That means like, bye-bye, we don't want to talk to you. That's what it means, like kind of. But like I told this to Mickey as well, and I honestly like I can say it now. You know, at the time, like it's already so far away. I was like just kind of like entertaining. Like I was just entertaining the idea of me going bot more, even though like initially I just wanted to get upset Mickey. Like okay, let's get upset Mickey. Okay, we're gonna have a super good team next year. Okay, but then I was thinking like, what if I do something crazy? You know, like what if I spice things up? Like because this was like my other plan, and it was like the more I was thinking about it, the more I wanted to do it. You know, it was like the thing where like, okay, he's free agent. Okay, we both made really far into roles. Okay, I think we are both super good, and I think it's gonna be fun. Like, and I got the ego for the AD carry role from like Hylissang actually. Like I remember I was playing solo queue with Hylissang, and he told me like after the game, oh, your Xayah is better than like 70%, 75% of LEC Xayahs. And then I was like, wow, really? Thank you, thank you. And I was also finally I was also duking with Reckless in the beginning of year, and he was playing a lot of Janna, and I was playing like Tristana. We were playing Janna Tristana, and he was like, dude, your Tristana is so crazy. And then maybe they didn't even know what was gonna. I didn't even know what was gonna happen. Like
the joke there is Hylissang in the off season. He didn't know
exactly,
it.
Exactly. They just didn't know that I was gonna beat them in finals the next 3-4 times. You know
exactly.
So they put it on themselves, kind of. But yeah, as I was thinking, that was like after Worlds, as I was thinking about it more and more, I was just kind of like, wow, this sounds just like really crazy. Like we have to do it, you know. Like so at the time, even if we could get upset, like maybe would have like changed mind, you know, and just go for this anyways, just because it's something that like it just doesn't happen. Like it won't happen. Like it just doesn't happen, you know. So I was like, okay, this is also a chance. Like honestly, like what people don't know, and like people say, oh, it was such a like humbling move, or like, okay, it was a humbling move, right? But it wasn't really a humbling move because it was like it was out of ego, you know. I wanted to do it so I can like kind of like prove to everyone in the world, I guess, that like, oh, I'm the only player in the world who can play 2 positions at world class.
You know why that's hilarious? Like, you touched on it, but the joke is, the fan assumes, right? What you really did in that moment is you were the only player ever who was like, got his rival and was like, you actually are better than me, you know, take my role. Like, I just want to win. Yeah. But it's the opposite. You were like, nah, I can actually be the best at AD as well. Like, I'm better than
I was actually thinking, okay, like my thought was like, okay, at the time, right? Obviously, I swear, guys, I'm not as narcissistic anymore. I promise. Okay. But at that time, I was thinking, okay, this tournament, I think, like I was saying, I think I'm the best mid. Like I had like ego over rookie as well. I was like, okay, I was thinking, okay, he just won because the Shy is better, okay, and okay, this was like I had a really good tournament. So now, if I can just do this on AD carry role, like, if I can just play well AD carry role, I'll be like really insane, you know, like I'll be like a really, really good player. So that was basically like a lot of ego into me going bot lane because I wanted to just like prove kind of like to everyone that I'm just better than them, you know. It was like, oh, I can go play a role and I can do it better than you, you know. And honestly, if I had a chance to play another role, I would do it too, because that's the kind of ego I have. I had, but yeah, I don't know. It was kind of like that. Yeah, honestly, like it's. I know it sounds crazy. I know it's like a little bit narcissistic as well, but it was just like when you're a competitor, you just want to like prove others you're better than them, like kind of that way, right? It's like it was never. It's so hard to say it after that Cloud9 contract, but like it wasn't about the money for me. Like it wasn't about the money for me. It was just about like proving everyone that I'm better than them. Now I haven't won a title in like this year, right? 2021 I did, so 2022 I didn't win a title, and it's like the first year in like 4 years I didn't win a title. So I kind of want to win a title again this year, and prove everyone else I'm better than them. But yeah, right now we are a bit struggling in scrims, so let's hold that off for like some next interview. But yeah, that was kind of the story. Yeah.
One thing I thought was cool is obviously because like you were in the rare position that you did the role swap, you also have a perspective on one of your rivals that no one else ever has, which is you fucking played with him as well. So you not only went head to head with Caps like now and in the past, but you also got to play in a team with him. So you must have a very different perspective on him. So what I want to know is this: if you remember when he was in Fnatic and you were just playing against him in mid, what would you say is different, or what did you learn from being his teammate? Like how did you see him before, and did it change when you became his teammate?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was good, but like when I played with him, I think it was then just when I realized how good he really is, actually, and like how in a way, like how similar we saw the game, like, and I get to learn a lot of like small niches from him, as I hoped he learned something from me as well, right? So in a way, it was like it's probably the player that I can say that I've played with that like we never had to argue about any fundamentals. Like never, did we have to argue about any like macro fundamentals, or like what we had to argue was about like some specific niche things that were like so useless, but we were arguing it for the ego. Like the only argument me and Cubs ever had was like when we were arguing, like everyone was just quiet and we were just arguing about something that's so useless, by the way. Like it's completely useless, but we're just arguing it because it's like the middle ego, you know? So that was basically the only arguments we've had. And yeah, it's like for sure the player I had like the same we had the same view of the game, you know, like we knew how the game like what ways we can win, what drafts have what winning conditions, what can we play, what can enemy play, like all that was like we thought very similarly. And honestly, like I think we are like super similar players. Like after playing with him, I can say I think we are super similar players. We have super similar strengths, and yeah, I think that's kind of like it. So yeah.
Right, obviously people will know, like it's the famous meme of like craps and claps depending on whether he did bad and inted or he carried the game, right? And I would say that's one of those memes that like now it's just a meme. Like actually the last few years, even at the end of your time in G2, he got really good and he actually like shored up that part of his game and it became a way low weakness. But this first year you guys were together, he definitely fucking did that a bunch of times. But I remember some games where he would just die. Like the worst ever was, I would even say if people don't know, the comparison if you're a newer fan would be like Humanoid this last summer split. Like it was the same thing. They would just do stuff like in the game where you're watching, you're like, but he's got flash. Like, why doesn't he just flash that? But they don't. They just like walk in and get killed by the jungler.
Yeah,
like, weird stuff. Give me some stories. Give me some prime like crap stories. You gotta have some good ones.
I don't know exactly, though. But I'm not gonna lie. You're right, because like me and Miky were rewatching some of like older games from 2019, and like some of the things Rasmus was doing. Like, of course, he's carried us a lot of times.
Sure,
but some of the things he's done, like my eyes cannot believe what I'm seeing. You know, I'm watching the replay, and I'm like, you know, I'm in that game, but in the game, I don't see what he does. Like, I don't see the mistakes he does, you know? And I'm just thinking, okay, something must have gone wrong. But when I watch the replays a few years later, I'm like, wow, he was really running us, you know? Like, at some points, he was, like, really mercilessly running us down. So I think all of us were doing it, to be fair. We were taking turns. So, but it just, I think he takes the cake in that one as well. Like he's the winner in that one as well. He was definitely like really creative with his wins.
Yes.
Like there was this one game where he was playing LeBlanc against Fnatic, and he was 10-0. We played LeBlanc Shen. We first time Shen because we saw Spica play it. Never mind. He was 10-0, and then he just died like 3 or 4 times in a row. And he's like the most fun member. And the game goes like 50 minutes. Elder, Baron, you know, and we win the game in 50 minutes. I'm like, woof, close one, you know. But I mean, obviously, a lot of us have done these things, you know. So I think the biggest thing is like he just refused to buy mercs. I remember like he wouldn't buy mercury treads under no circumstances, and he would a lot of times like die for it. And me and Miky were just like, dude, buy mercs? No, okay, no, it's fine. But yeah, no, it was honestly like. I don't have like some super funny stories.
I mean, that was pretty good in itself. Yeah, that was a good one.
But yeah.
One thing I want to ask about though is because the other thing I find funny as an observer is it's like if we listen to the part you said earlier about when you were the mid laner and when you would sometimes play too aggro or you didn't. The funny thing is you got to experience something else, Red Dude, which is the other roles perspective. Like as you say, when you're the ADC and you think you're the really good ADC, like the joke again, I'll use the same example. It's like I know my mate Upset. You don't think he was like pulling his hair out when he would get all these good lanes and he would get ahead early in this last split and then Humanoid would die at like level 3 for no reason. That's like, fuck, guy, just do nothing and I'll carry the game. Like, give me a chance. Like, that's the difference between how the AD carry sees the game and the mid laner, right?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, no, it's true. Like, as the AD carry, like you have like the highest power to carry the game after like 3 items. Like, it's just what it is. So like, you just have to kind of believe your AD carry is better than the enemy. Given some specific situations where some other roles are stronger, but usually I would say the carry has the highest agency after specific time, right? So yeah, I mean, I get it how it feels, you know.
One thing that must have been really cool about playing in a team with Caps, like, yes, the others as well, but the fact that like you two players have both been such epic international players, to me, it's like, put it this way, maybe people who are teammates of yours do this, but it's actually quite rare in teams that you can sort of look over. And like you said, you don't have to argue it. You just know, like, that guy there's going to do his job. Like in this game, like against these like top Koreans, he's going to do his job. If I do my job, we just win the game. That must be a cool feeling.
Yeah. No, it's true. Like I had a lot of trust in him. Like I had a lot of trust in him. But to be fair, I had a lot of trust in everybody. Like I had a lot of trust in everyone on my team. Like I trusted that everybody will do their job. You know, like it was like every game, like every day I would wake up and I would know, okay, we come in roles because I know everyone will do their job. There was this one series in season 9 where like Mickey was getting giga by Hillsong. Like and it was like, how do I say it? I had some harder times controlling my thoughts at that time. But I managed to overcome them. I managed to overcome them also. But yeah, besides that one, I think it was a nice feeling because I just believed everyone will do their job and that's it.
Here's one thing I wanted to ask. This is also just a mad question, but I'll phrase it this way. What is different about the Caps int from a Mickey int? Because I've noticed Mickey is also, in his own unique way, a very notorious inter. But knowing him as a person, he's a very different mentality. So, like, I wondered, like, how is his different? Like, what do you think he's in games where? Because here's the problem: he's just like Caps. I mean, people saw this in XL. He also what looks like the same ints. Another game does just carry the whole game, and you just win like 14 fights off it. You know what I mean? He can turn it some amazing matches. So, what do you think's going through his head, or what is his mentality as to why he has these games where it looks like he just chain ints?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say is like that support role is just different. Like, I feel like if you think about it, all the supports int, like, I don't know, the only support I can think of that it doesn't like int is like Ming, for example, with Nautilus. Like, every Nautilus is like 10 deaths, but somehow when Ming plays Nautilus, he has like 0 deaths. Like, that's the only thing that comes to my mind. But I think it's just usually the plays that, like, you know, or like, I mean, Mickey would sometimes really die in random ways. Like, I think sometimes he would just die by not thinking. Like, that's true. But that's maybe because he's playing support and he would get bored or something, you know, and he would just do something random because he didn't feel like he had a job in game. That's like how junglers supports in the most, because they don't feel like, oh, they have to do something right now, which in fact they do. They always have to do something, but they just feel like they don't because they're not farming minions. But yeah, there was this one funny story with Mickey though. Like we were playing Yuumi, we were playing Garen Yuumi, and it just became meta, and we were learning the combo. And we got level 6, and he told me go all in, and then I'm all inning. I'm going with Garen, I'm spinning forward, and then we get ganked by jungle and die. And then in my head, I'm like thinking, wait, he's playing Yuumi, he's literally sitting on me the whole time, and he can't watch minimap. Like what?
Oh, yes, I just realized, yeah, true.
Like I'm like, how does he tell me to all in right now? You know, we even like kind of knew, we kind of knew where he was. I'm like, and the whole game, I'm just thinking about that, and I just got in the back of
your head, right?
And I can't stop thinking about it. And then the next game, we are playing Garen Yuumi reverse, and the game was going way better. And then like we lost like a fight, we got aced, and there was like dead silence in the room. I'm like, okay, this is gonna be a fun day of scrims. So yeah, I don't know. We never really played Garen Yuumi competitively, as you can see on our match history. But yeah.
One thing I want to ask about is who is Mickey, by the way, as like a person? Because one thing I notice is very strange is people will notice he is quite soft-spoken in interviews. Like, here's what's weird, dude. In interviews, he doesn't come off like a guy who seems super confident in himself, which to me is weird because, like, put it this way, if I had his skills, I'd be the cockiest motherfucker of all time. He's got fucking insane mechanics as a support. Like, who is he as a person?
Mickey's really cocky. Like, he's got I was commenting like I'm not sure if that's like because like he's played with me and I was like really cocky, but like, he's definitely gotten way cockier since G2 days. Like now when I speak to him, I'm like, wow, Mickey, like chill down, you know, like calm down your ego, bro. Like no, he's really confident. I don't think he's not confident. I think he's confident in himself, and yeah, he's a good player. So there's no reason why he wouldn't be.
You know, when you say these things in this interview, like I was narcissistic or I had a big ego, I was cocky, right? Look, I know on one side, players always say, you know, you've got to believe you can win and all that jazz, like for themselves. But I think an underrated aspect of that style, by the way, like here's the things I would say is if you are both really good and you've been a champion, like you've won before, dude, I think the effect it has on the opponent is mad underrated. Like, as mad as it sounds, like if they're playing against you and you're not only like beating them, but you're like shit talking them as well, you're treating them as though like, look, they might actually be good, but you treat them like they're below you. I think that can actually, that could be quite that's like psychological war, you know.
Yeah, there's definitely something to it. I mean, you can also be like very confident in yourself without doing those things, I guess, in theory, right? You can do both. I mean, I'm still like super confident in myself. I would just say I'm a little bit like less like I think I was way more revolved around me before, you know, like let's say in 2018 I really wanted to be the carry. I wanted to carry the game. Like even in 2016, like going back to 2016, like we were like sucking because I was trying to play like Echo into Syndra, and like I was like, I like to play assassins, I like to make plays, all these things, and it was like I like to be the show match, you know. But I think that's all like changing over the years a little bit, and even like more and more, and now as well, especially, right? I'm always trying to find new balance, new identity each year I'm playing in each given team. That still doesn't make me any less confident in myself. Like I'm still super confident. I know that. I mean, I know because I can and because I do. Like I can beat anyone, you know, in scrims. I can beat anyone on stage. I don't care, you know. I watch Worlds and I'm thinking, okay, you know why Zeka played so fucking well this Worlds? Because he's confident, you know, he believes in himself. He knows he can do it. Some other people are crumbling under pressure. You know, as long as you're confident in yourself and you know you can do it, like I cannot be at Worlds for next 3 years and then go again and I will still do well. You know, I know it. You know, not saying that. I mean, obviously, I want to go to Worlds. I'm just trying to like hypothetical. Yeah.
Yes. By the way, you told the story there, obviously, of like the season 9 spring finals with the super team against Origen, how you mind gamed them with the draft, etc. Right. One thing I would ask is this, right? A lot of teams have a story like that, but it's like one pick, like, oh, first time, just the first time, or like, oh, we did a redraft. Your team has so many that are like this through those 2 years, like so many times where you just threw it out the window, you came up with something in draft or the night before.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, was there something unique about this squad particularly that you're coming up with all these things so fresh? It seems quite unusual.
Yeah, I think it was because we had a lot of creative players. Like I would say, like Caps was really creative, Miky was really creative as well. I mean, Wunder was creative. I think it was really good that we had Jankos. Like, I'm not saying Jankos wasn't per se creative, but he was just the one guy who was like stabilizing the squad so much. Like I actually think Jankos was probably like our like MVP of that team. Like with any other jungle, it would not. I think with any other player, the team would probably not function as well. Like let's say that I think you cannot replace one of the players and have the team as functioning as well. But I think with Jankos by far the most. Like I think like what he brought like to the team was like so important. To have a guy, you know, he could just play Jarvan 5 games in a row in scrims. You know, he could play. You know, he would just play what was the best, and he would blind pick a lot. He would pick early, like. Okay, there was this time where the carry junglers came and we were still forcing him to play like Volibear and stuff like that. That was so fucking funny. Honestly, I feel sorry for him as well because it kind of became like an abusive relationship, you know? It was like from a guy who's sacrificing himself to the team to like, he was just like a dog, you know? Like, I mean, I'm sorry to say like that, you know, but he was actually, he was like a very strong dog, but like, he was a team dog and like in a good way, you know? Like he was like keeping us together. So yeah. I think it was just a unique, like how was it called? 5 players together, I guess.
One thing I would ask, actually, since you mentioned the Jankos topic, so let's keep going on that, was one time, I think it was like a Crackdown episode or something, I was like hyping up Jankos and saying, like, people don't even realise like all the things he's done. Like, think about it, he was on the H2K team, then he was your team, he's had all these top places. And you actually said, whether it was just like, I don't know, the enthusiasm, no one, someone can ask you now, you said a really telling line, which is you said he might actually be the best player I've ever played with. Now, obviously, that would really shock most people because he played with Caps and he's obviously the big name. People think of the highlight. What would you mean by something like that, or how were you thinking of him as a player, Jankos, in this regard? Because I know what you mean in that sense. Like I've heard the same thing, by the way, from a lot of people that they think he was like sort of the one that the structure of the team of G2.
I mean, it's like it's so hard to say also without even disrespecting the other players because obviously like that lineup was, I guess, the greatest.
It was a super team. Let's be real.
Yeah, right. So it's like, and I think everyone was super good, and like I loved all of them. Like I don't have anything, actually bad to say about any. I mean, of course, you can always say bad things about somebody. You can always point out their flaws. I have millions of them, right? But like, I think what Jankos contributed, I guess, like in everyday practice, is that's maybe what I mean. Because like, let's say, like I was troll picking a lot. Me and Miky were troll picking a lot. We played shit like Rakan knew me, Lisa knew me. Like I know we played like Sejuani, Renekton bot in streams, and like we were like trolling a lot. Like I definitely can't say I was the biggest benefitter on that team. Capsule, for example, like a lot of streams just be silent, and like do his thing as well. So I would say Jankos probably like gave from my perspective, like he gave the most effort into like making the team stable throughout those 2 years, without like taking away anything from anybody else. So yeah, that's basically what I guess. If I mentioned that somewhere, I probably said it because of that, because I guess that's how I felt.
Yeah, it's a good explanation.
Yeah.
One thing I would say along these lines, by the way, is I can't remember whether it was, I assume it was Grabs or something, but I'm pretty sure I also had someone on one of my shows who said, and when they said this, I started watching this dude, and when I could see it, I was like, holy shit, he's doing an amazing job, right? A similar thing. People said back in the day, especially like Caps, like he'll talk sometimes, but he's not like a guy who's just talking all the time, etc. And so they said, one of the things they were really impressed with Jankos is, if you ever watch the amount of times on the map he's able to sort of like shadow where Caps is going to be and get back to mid lane when he needs to be for like the counter gank, he said when they're doing that, he said you have to realize like he's just doing that from his own brain. Like no one's telling him that.
No,
he's just reading the map. Yeah,
100% true. Jankos is like by far the smartest jungler in the West. Like that, there is, or like the guy who understands the macro the best. And actually, I'm really interested to see how G2 does without Jankos. Like just as a side note, like I think it's gonna be a big shock for them in official games. But we will see. I think they have super good squad. But I want to see it actually, because yeah, I play with Jankos, and it's like Jankos is the guy who you don't have to tell where to go. And usually, from my experience with junglers, you have to tell them where to be and what to do. And with Jankos, you don't, because he just did it himself. And that's just super impressive. He understands the champions, understands the winning conditions, understands the game super well. So yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Right. Obviously, we can't rewind time. What happened happens. But I do want to ask what you think would have happened if, let's say, we go the Upset move. Maybe Upset joins as ADC and it wasn't Caps who joined and you stayed in G2 and Caps in Fnatic. Like you said back then, you're really egotistical. Like, obviously, you would have been mid lane the whole time, right? How would your career have been different? Like, do you still think you were stacking championships? Would you have been better than Caps? What do you think?
I mean, this is like obviously like really hard to say.
Yeah,
so,
pure speculation.
I mean, given the rosters, I would say G2 roster would be stronger than Fnatic's roster, like for the next year. Obviously, it also all depends like on how we mesh and all these things. So it's hard to really say. It will be a close fight, but I think neither team would like reach like the heights that I guess G2 reached, right? In a way. So I think for that you just need like a lot of. I mean, I would say G2 would let's say G2 would upset. I think would reach it easier because I would think our players would have higher skill ceiling than the Fnatic roster. But still, like I think, yeah, the game just wouldn't be as crazy and as like on the same page, So I mean, hard to say. Obviously, like we can't know. Like maybe it would be worse, maybe it would be better. But given the metas that we played in, like. I think we worked really well. Yeah.
I noticed actually in his career, there's a few different times when Upset could have partnered with you in G2 or even other teams if people don't know some of the other squads that were being built over the years. I'm actually not surprised, that you would want to play with him. To me, he's exactly the sort of teammate you'd want. Like, if people don't know, he really is like a super driven guy to win. He is no nonsense. He wants to practice loads and play the right way. Like, I could see that being a teammate you would fuck with.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he's like a stable AD carry, right? And he does a lot of damage. Like every player has its pros and cons, so there's always things you have to deal with and things people have to deal with when they play with me as well. But yeah, I think it's definitely good. Yeah.
Because that's one thing I wanted to ask is, like, it's all well and good when you had the super team in season 9, season 10 with all these amazing players that can all be the best in their role. I understand in a team like that why people can be more jokey and it can seem like people aren't taking it seriously. But I wondered actually, in other times in your career, without naming names, when you've had weaker teammates or teammates who aren't as dedicated, but maybe don't even practice as much as you or enough, are you a guy who can handle that? How are you able to sort of get through that?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I like at sometimes I've struggled, but I think in every team I played, I've actually really enjoyed the team atmosphere in general. Maybe in C9 I had the hardest time adapting at the beginning because it was the first time we changed the team, and like a lot of things were different obviously than G2, right? But like even last year, for summer especially, like I actually really enjoyed like playing and working with this team. I'm like it's a little bit sad if it like didn't have the success we wanted, right? And we were one game off of even trying to make something good. But like I was enjoying my time, So I can't really say that there was like there's hard moments and times where like I just want to like quit, like there's times where I'm just like feeling like I'm done and like tired of like repeating the same thing for like the 10th year in a row, but that's just I think that's also same in every sport, like every job. Like just think how the football players think as well, like do you think they want to run like 10 kilometers for like 15 kilometers for like the 200 time, like like at some point they're like, I'm just like I just CBA anymore, but then they do it anyways because they love it so much. It's similar for me, like I don't want to play league every day of my life for 10 hours, but then again I just like competing. I like being really good at what I do, and I don't think I am gonna be as good at what I do as I am in league probably ever again. I mean, bad to say this because I might just be, the new G2 CEO in the future. Who knows? Or Vitality CEO. Sure. Who knows, right? But yeah, I'm just really appreciative of what I do and what I'm getting every day. So it's the same no matter what teammates, no matter what the scrim results. Like, of course, when we are winning is better. But today we got like shit on the scrims, and like we won a few games, and I had fun and we learned. And I'm still fine today, even though we got kind of made fun of, but it's still fine because I'm enjoying the process and I'm enjoying doing what I do, and I'm just super grateful that I can do what I do. I'm like, if you think about it, I'm getting to compete in something I'm really fucking good at. I'm earning money doing it. I'm earning good money doing it, and when I look back at it, I'm actually doing my childhood dream, because when I was like 12, I was watching league championships spotlights. And I was watching Freak do say tons of damage and like do these champions, and and I'm like, wow, I'm competing, like something is good to like take the step out and see yourself in a different light, not be in this bubble where I'm like playing 24/7. Oh, if I'm not 20 CS up in this lane, oh my god, I'm really fucking washed now. All these things, all these things, they can impact you when you are in the bubble the whole time. But yeah.
No, by the way, what you said, I think makes a lot of sense. It's actually something I've discovered in the last few years myself, which is basically what you're talking about. Is like by taking like perspective and sort of looking at the bigger picture, it makes you actually have gratitude. Like I have the same thing. Like there's times I'd get down because I had stupid tweets or something, mate. And I'd think, oh, esports sucks. And then when I would come out of it, I'd be like, what are you on about? It's like my dream job. Like that's way better than having to go and do some fucking my people back in the day used to work in mines, mate. Like I'd rather do this.
Exactly. Actually, it's funny that you mentioned mines because my wife's father, like when somebody asked him what I do, and he was like, "Oh, he works in a mine." He's like, he didn't want to.
So not have to waste time explaining exactly.
Yeah.
But what about this then? So one thing I do want to ask about is that MSI in season 9 where you guys went, and in the semi-finals you had to play SKT. And if people they can go back and look at this, that was a fucking loaded SKT roster, mate. That was a really good set of players. Like I'm sure they thought for real in Korea, like they'd made another like super team and they were going to win everything. So like when you played them in this, semi-final, like what would you explain? This experience must be wild. I mean, in the past you've played the old SKT in a final when you had Mithy and Sven, but that was back when they were supposed to always win, right? And this time, did you guys really think you were going to win this semi-final? Was there something happening in the match that was interesting?
Okay, I will have to say, because we lost like 4 games in a row towards the end. I was skeptical. I'm not gonna say I was super confident. I was skeptical. But apparently, apparently, like that's what Rasmus told me. Like he told me he thought we were gonna win for sure. Like he was like, so maybe it was him who carried us series with his mental, with his aura, you could say. But though I will say I was really confident in me and Miky, which is like funny because like he actually didn't play the game for 2 months. We had first 2 games of scrims the night before the MSI started, and we were still like winning 2v2, like 90% of the games we were actually winning. We were only losing, we were only getting gapped by IG. Yes, I think Jekyll was better than me that tournament. Not at Worlds. But at that tournament, I think he was better than me. And I could feel it. But besides, and like against Steady and effort, I think it was effort. Like I thought we were gonna do better than them. So I had kind of confidence in us as a duo, but maybe not so much in us as a team yet, because we just like, well, we only won EU. We just went there. We just lost 4 games in a row. Probably we were inting a bit, and I was like, maybe it's a bit iffy. But then like the series was a banger, right? And we lost the first game with Sonataric, and I'll admit, like I was never really like a passive player on bot lane, like we would not really win when I was playing like these champs because probably I wasn't so good at them, and we also played a lot around us. So yeah, we lost with Solitaric, and the other games were like quite good. So yeah.
The obvious game I want to ask about is Game 5, because I've always said, this is why I actually think, by the way, you guys being so good in G2 made the entire West, and especially Europe, get way overrated. Because, at the time, everyone was being like, oh, LEC's like becoming a top region. I was like, it's that one team, and this draft is why, mate. Because what you were able to do to SKT in that Game 5 draft, no one's ever done that to like an elite Asian team. If people don't know, this is the one where you guys fucking clowned them with the flex pike to fucking top lane. So there's no universe, by the way, a Korean coach is going like, that could be going top lane. So that's already epic. Then you have the angle where you obviously do the fucking Syndra bot lane. Like, the point I make here is, like, in the past, if you're playing like the best Korean team, you're always going to be the one that feels like you're behind and they're the one that has all the answers. I bet after that draft, they were just like, what the fuck is this? Like, that's not the way Koreans draft, mate.
No, it's true. That was actually a banger draft. We had like some success with like Pike top in scrims. It was like against IG. Actually, like Wunder would usually get smashed by the Shy, not gonna lie. But with Pike, he was actually like solo killing him. So we were like, maybe Pike is just like actually broken, Like let's save him for playoffs.
Okay. All right.
Let's save him for playoffs. So and then since I really wanted to play Syndra because like maybe I lost a bit of confidence in like our maybe it wasn't confidence. Maybe it was just I wanted to cheese them, like kind of cheese them, to secure the win. Like I was like, okay, I was thinking if we cheese them, we probably secure the win, and I really wanted to secure the win. So I was really confident in Syndra, and I knew that Rasmus is like super good at playing the Alessandra LeBlanc matchup, which actually, funny enough, I lost this matchup to him, so I shouldn't have opted into it. But yeah, so we baited a Faker into picking LeBlanc. And then we would just last pick Lissandra, and we had like 80 damage from top of jungle, and like we had like a good mix, So it was like a banger draft. It was definitely, like I knew that this was gonna happen. Like we knew what was gonna happen, and we were all down for it because we were playing all crazy stuff before. We played Sonatarek, we played Funnel, we played Nico Bot, we played I don't know. What Zoe bought, like we played all these things that like it wasn't really like a strange thing or okay, I just play Syndra, So it was definitely like a banger game. Like that was actually iconic, yeah.
Right. Obviously, because what did happen in reality is Team Liquid got that miraculous upset, went to the final, and you guys beat them. In reality, you never had to worry. You won the tournament. You were the best team. You could be saying number one. But I know, and you've implied it by what you said before, the big question obviously is, what if IG had been there?
Would we have beaten IG? Yeah.
What do you think would have happened?
No, it's true. I think it would be a hard series. I'm not saying we would have lost because I think we were like actually just a good squad. We were like a really good squad. And I think Wunder and Cups were like peaking at a time, like we've taken like, and I guess I lost to them as well the year before, but we've taken like, we've had a lot of like how is it called, drive, like motivation, passion. I don't know what you want to say. Like we wanted to beat them. Like we actually wanted to beat IG. So it didn't feel that great winning. I mean, okay, did I felt really good, but like it would have felt better if we beat IG. That's what I'm trying to say. And I don't think we would just lose to them. You know, like I think when we get to the finals against IG, it will be like a lot of on the line. You know, a lot of ego on the line, like kind of. And maybe we will lose, maybe not, but at least we would like not lose 3-0. That's for sure. Like we would refuse to lose 3-0. Yeah.
In terms of actually the winning moment of winning MSI, though, I did want to ask about that too, because look, like technically, I know people are going to say, but Fnatic did that in season 1. Like, look, I won't go into the whole debate about that. All I'll say is this: I doubt it felt as good for Fnatic because it was just DreamHack. So the question I would ask you is this: you're the only Westerner that knows this. What's it like to win one of those massive international tournaments in the era when there are all these like the joke now is even the few years later, it feels like, did that really happen? Like, that'll never happen again. It just feels like no one will ever win Worlds from the West. No one will ever win MSI. It feels like that. So what was it actually like to be in that moment? Was it surreal?
I mean, it was kind of surreal, yeah, because that was like that was just like the start of our success, right? Like kind of. And people say, you know, we peaked there, but I don't think we peaked there. I think we were just as good throughout the whole 2 years. We just had more like teams that challenged us as well, like later on. So I don't know. It was a surreal feeling because I guess you are. It's like one of those animes where like as from a young age, you know, you are taught that the Asians you are your overlords and you're supposed to pay your taxes to them and you're supposed to lose to them and just give them the trophies. So this is kind of how you're raised as a Western League of Legends player. So I think by doing that, not have you only taken the stigma away from us, we have only also taken it from everybody else around the world. Like you make it kind of seem believable. Oh, if they can do it and they can like troll pick and do it, you know, then surely anybody else can do it too, right? No, I don't think there's been actually Western team that's won a BO5 against Asian team since that G2, which is kind of sad actually to think about it like that. That's actually really depressing, honestly. We gotta make that right this year. But yeah, I think that's basically it. It's like the whole kind of like the whole thing around it was like different because yeah, it's true. It was surreal. Yeah, it was a bit surreal. But like now having done it and having beaten multiple Asian teams, like actually honestly more surreal was beating RNG. I will say that was like way more surreal. Like this was like I kind of already knew we were really good, but I just didn't know how good we were, right? So beating RNG was like super surreal. But I think that it's not that hard. Like I think like saying that because I mean we lost 3-0 last time in Cloud9, right? But I think it's like Asian teams, they have weaknesses like every other team. Just you think because they're an Asian team because you don't know them really well, you don't have info on them, that you think they're just so insane. But like in reality, every team in the world has their identity. Every team in the world has like a few champs they're really good at, not actually all of them. You know, you don't have to play like every champion in the game to be really good at them. You just look at the world champions, you know, like Doinby won Worlds playing Nautilus mid. Like think about it, he won Worlds playing Nautilus mid, you know? Like how crazy is that, right? So you don't have to be the best in the world at everything. You just have to be the best at one thing your team does. And that's like if you actually teach that your team, I think then you can have a lot of success, right? But the problem is people think, oh, every team has to play carry top, every team has to be able to play this, every team has to play Lucianami, and okay, it's unlucky if Lucianami is meta for 3 years in a row, then just FF, you know, if enemy is better Lucianami, it sucks, you know, just ban it, you know, just try to play without it. Sometimes it is about the meta, sometimes enemies are just better in the meta, and I will say I think the Asian teams are in general better in the Chanter meta than the Western teams. I think it's kind of hard to beat an Asian team when it's a Chanter meta. That is, I will say it. I don't know why it is exactly. I don't want to go too into detail. I think it's something connected with discipline and the way the culture is, because the games are much more stable and slower and blah blah. But I don't want to go into detail. So yeah, I think you just have to believe you can do it, and I think a lot of European teams, by the time they get to Worlds, they're like done. You know, they have.
Yes.
Like, I know for a fact that these Worlds, by the time they got to Worlds, like I think all the Western teams were already done. They already like, I think they already were all looking for the next year. Like that's the problem, right? That's the problem.
Yes.
That's a problem.
Money doesn't grow on trees, and believe it or not, just watching a video for free with the odd ad doesn't really pay the bills. So thanks to the following people for kindly supporting my work and this particular content. And those people are, of course, Ahmed Hadju, Matt Pugnaccio Racula, Animosity, Bot Pounder 420, Jensen Gore, Kovacevic, Tobias Bernasconi, Tosh, Toucan, and a special thanks always goes out to Jerky's Minion, my main man. You know what? There are plenty of perks to be found on my Patreon. Like, you can find out who upcoming guests are for my reflections, interviews, and talk shows. You can ask me a question in my monthly AMA. Might get roasted if it's a bit spicy in how you phrase it. You can figure out which pieces of content I might want to do next. I often ask people which they think between certain ideas or for suggestions. You can even take part in one of those long discussions with me about all kinds of esports, whatever's on your mind. So if any of those sound like something that takes your fancy, put your money where your mouth is. Join the Illuminati today via the Patreon link in the description below.